What's going on, you guys? Once again, I want to thank you for joining for another episode with JCJ. And today I'm going to talk about something very unfortunate. What I'm going to talk about today is the recent news of a potential divorce between Dr. Dre and his wife. So why is this so important? If you look at the statistics in Black America, you'll see that 70% of Black women are single mothers. And you'll also see that unlike the 1950s and the 1960s in Black America, marriage is pretty much falling apart. And there's a growing distance. And you can even see combative behaviors between Black women and Black men and other factors that are brought into the equation, which is causing division in the Black community. Now, the reason that I really want to talk about this and to address it is because how important it is to kind of talk about the differences between marriage in Black America, the Caribbean, and Africa. So as someone who's traveled to Africa, I've been to 5 countries now, someone who has heritage from the Caribbean America, and someone who was born in Black America and really has a ground in the Black American experience. For me, looking at it in that way, in a way, in the Black diaspora, is very unique because what I see happening right now is, unfortunately, divorces are going at an all-time rate. What I also see is that people are not getting married as they did in the 1960s, and these are all according to the Census Bureau data that I'm getting from there. So you can do your research and see what I'm referring to. It's just really unfortunate right now what's going on. So looking at Dr. Dre, who's a pioneer in music, not the best rapper, but definitely one of the greatest producers ever, and someone who got with this woman. I remember when he left Death Row and he was with her and started Aftermath, and she was part of the equation. I really question how someone can be with someone for 24 years and then all of a sudden want to get a divorce. It happens often, unfortunately, in our communities. It happens all throughout other communities, but just at a higher rate in ours, and that's what I'm referring to. Really, when you look at the whole Dr. Dre situation, it makes you very sad, right? Because we know Jeff Bezos went through a similar situation. But unlike Dr. Dre came from a tumultuous background, a lot of abuse and things in relationships in his past. But it seemed like things were going good, at least to the public, with his current relationship. And Dr. Dre was already rich when he met his current wife, unlike Jeff Bezos. So Dr. Dre, who's currently worth $1 million right now, is scheduled to get a divorce that could cost him a lot of money, a lot of money. And correlating it to the Black American experience, I think about the values and have they completely left? As marriage, something that used to be big in the 1950s, in the 1960s, it's no longer valued, and I'm speaking for the crowd that's like 37 years and 36 years and under. Do they even care about getting married anymore? Is it even in a man's best interest to get married? For me, I was very hesitant to do so, and I got a lot of flack from it from my family. And I was engaged to someone, and I started seeing certain signs, and I decided not to move forward. And eventually, the whole situation imploded anyway, due to certain situations. But with all of that said, I think it makes someone want to kind of look at the value of marriage in Western society. Is it even worth it to get married? You know what I'm saying? And if it is worth it to get married, who's to say that you'll stay together? Like, what really holds a household together? They say people change over time and so forth. But then if you look at the 1950s and 1960s, 1970s, the Black families were a lot stronger then than they are now. And even if you look at it in Guyana, in places like that, I'm going to speak for Guyana, I'm going to speak for Haiti, I'm going to speak for Trinidad and Tobago, places where I know people from personally, places that I have lineage to, such as Guyana, and the household is not strong there either. It's very similar to things that's going on in the West, where people are getting with each other for convenience. People are getting with each other for because they're lonely, and people are getting with each other just because they don't want to get left out. You know what I'm saying? So we got to look at all of these things and what Dr. Dre is currently going through, and ask ourselves, the institution of marriage, does it still have value here in the West as it did before? Now, the reason I'm even bringing up this topic is because sometimes I get blowback from some of my friends on my preference, to explore relationships on the motherland and potential marriage. And part of that is because of the traditional values. Marriage is still revered there. A woman still wants to get married and stay married. And they're not quick to get divorced, such as people of all races here in the States, right? So I think it's important for us to start to look and see, where did things go wrong and can things turn around? In the Black community, Black American community. And when I say Black American community, I mean also the Caribbeans that are here and so forth, and then also Africans that transition here as well too. Is it a societal thing? Is it a society thing? Excuse me. Is it something that, where it's not promoted to stay together for the betterment of the family? Because in our situation, a family is all we really have. In everyone's situation, people of all colors. And that's what leads to, establishing wealth. That's what leads to, building strong relationships, and also building certain values as well too. So I really wanted to bring up this issue. Looking at Dr. Dre is just an unfortunate situation that we even come to this after 24 years. They've been together, and now, they're looking at just completely separating and doing their own thing. And he's 55 years old, man. At that point, if I'm with a woman for 24 years and I'm 55 years old, I pretty much just want to die with this person at the end of the day, to be honest with y'all. I just pretty much want to die with them, regardless of what's going on. I'm going to have to look the other way. But that's me. I do believe that we should try to get married and stay married for the betterment, not just of the kids, but generational wealth, and building a foundation. Would have to be something very tumultuous to break up a relationship of 24 years. At least I would like to think so. Something that I see what's going on in the continent is they're starting to adopt a lot of behaviors that are very familiar here in the West. Definitely in Kenya and in South Africa, where a woman's like, INDEPENT. Do you know what that means? Like they don't really give a damn about being in a marriage and stuff like that. They're all about, what they can do for themselves or their children, and not really valuing marriage as it once was. And so this is not something that's just happening in America, but it definitely happens at a high rate here, and it's starting to happen in other places. Something to be very concerned about, especially within our community. And can we stay together? There's a lot of, people who you would think are leaders in the community that don't have strong families. There's a lot of people who are players and things and still doing their stuff. And they telling people about Black love and this and that, but then they don't practice it as far as being in a strong, stable relationship. So I challenge, everyone to kind of think about that. What is the value of marriage in your life? Is it something that you see value of? Because apparently in our society, it seems like that's not the case. You look at Dr. Dre's situation, and there's reports that there was no prenup. And if that's really the case, that there was no prenup, she's about to get paid. And in the grand scheme of stuff, they have kids, 2 kids. What value did marriage bring to that situation? Could they have still lived a good life and not necessarily have been, married, it's something to think about, especially on the West, because she's also asking for spousal support. And so it leads some men hesitant to get married. It leads some men to look at the signs a little bit more so they don't get trapped in a situation. Very interesting. Anyway, I just want to leave you guys with that. And, hopefully we can aim for better marriage rates in the Black American community and abroad. One love, one people, and this is JCJ. Peace.